call this regular council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Deb, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd remain standing, please, for a moment. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the beautiful weather. We ask that you keep us all safe as summer starts in full swing. Please keep our children safe as they start their summer vacation, and bless us with good weather on Fridays for our farmers market, and keep all our participants in this Friday and Saturday's fun run and mini triathlon out of harm's way. And on what would be my father's 92nd birthday today, just want to say happy birthday, Dad. Lord, we ask for all of these things tonight in your holy name. Amen. Kathy, roll call, please.
Carter. Here. Walter.
Here.
Powell.
Here.
Barstow.
Here.
Hayes. Here. Hicken.
Here.
Lee.
Here. Okay, everybody's here. We have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda tonight is citizens' comments, and we have a couple of special features. And before we get into the Park and Rec Board interviews, I'd like to ask Ed Boren from the YMCA to step up. He's got a 5-minute presentation to throw out to council, and we'll let him get out of here, and we'll start on our Park and Rec interviews. Good evening, Ed.
Thank you, Mayor.
Name and address, please, for the record.
Edward Bourne, since I lived there most of the time, 470 West Church Street, Newark, Ohio.
Okay, great. That's what the parole board needed to hear. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
I'm not going to throw anything at you. I'd rather talk to you. Get me in trouble. Truly an honor to speak to you tonight. Thank you for taking the time, Jacqueline and everyone. We just wanted to share with you, give you a little update, and I guess more to follow if we do well tonight, I guess. But thanks to you and thanks to this community. If you weren't aware, we hosted the Pataskla Chamber at the YMCA in Pataskla, and we announced to them that we had generated about 80% of what we needed to get us to the total renovation of that facility. So much strength and motivation that we could go to the second phase, which I'll be happy to explain later if we do well, and I anticipate that we will do well because of the community. We're very blessed to have that, but we have pretty much where we need to go. We have some meetings coming up here this week. For those that have interest, I'd be happy to talk with you more. I have a bunch of propaganda to share with you, but I'm going to set it off to the side so you can take it then. But once again, we're truly honored to be a part of this. It's a long time coming, and we're excited to be that we get to the next step. Our intent is to, over the next 60 days, 60 to 90 days, hopefully, if all goes well, that we can announce at the street fair that we've reached our goal, and that we can break some ground here in September, October, and have our newly renovated facility open and ready for your and the kids and the family's pleasure in the fall of 2019. It's hard to believe I'm saying it, 19. So that's what I have. Won't take too much more time. Any questions, thoughts?
Just give us 2 or 3 bullet points on what you're actually going to be doing to that building.
What we're going to be doing to that building, we're going to give it a new facelift. One of the biggest communication pieces, we're going to eliminate all the loading docks. There are no more fish ponds. We're going to add a new wellness center to it, relocate the wellness center currently where it is, and then develop some program space and a joint operation with the Licking County Aging, in which they'll share some space, partnership, as well as putting new locker rooms and shower rooms, whole new facelift on the inside, new electrical, everything will be replaced. Roof, which we're really excited to happen to do, but and I would hope to say that in the second phase we could get the gym. But a lot of things will take place. One of the nice things about it is we hope to not be closed during any of that time. I might add that we've had some real good momentum even with the state of Ohio of about $250,000 that we'll be able to contribute to the project. And one thing I might add is that these dollars that we're raising are not all local, meaning within Licking County area, and they are not taxed or levy dollars or bond dollars. They're all from local community and support, and even the YMCA. We generate some funds in which we'll be able to contribute to the projects ourselves.
Any questions for Ed real quick? We've got him scheduled for the first meeting in July to give us a full-blown presentation, but knowing that we had just kicked this off and it's huge for the community on how the Y has grown and how many programs and what, 2,000 or 3,000 people in your programs now?
We've come a long way from 174 when we first started over 2,000. And that's thanks to the community.
Anything for Ed right now? Okay, we'll see you in first of July, first meeting in July.
Thank you for your
Okay?
time. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thanks, Ed. All right, next on the schedule tonight, Parks and Rec Board interviews. Tim, we have, I know you've worked with these folks and talked to them. We have 3 candidates tonight.
We do.
Okay.
We have, Mr. Mayor, just so council knows, I
Sure.
did call each of the individuals today. In advance, I'll thank all 3 of them for taking the time to then be willing to throw their hat in the ring for this. I'll probably say that at the end too, but, and I just gave them a brief description of what tonight would entail. Other than that, I haven't
All right.
asked them any specific questions.
I don't wanna take your copies, but we're gonna do this in the order that you just gave it to me, and there's no particular order. We'll do, Derek, and then we'll do Ross, and then we'll do Justin, okay? So Derek, come on up here, please. And if you give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Derek Lee. I live at 10452 McIntosh Road. Quick brief background. I've lived here for 20 plus years, grew up here, and a major reason I want to be a part of the Parks and Rec Board is because soccer has been a part of my whole life, and it all started in Castle Rec, where I grew up playing with my dad coaching, ended up moving on to club, played through high school, ended up coaching the JV team at Licking Heights for 2 years. Went on to college and have a degree in agricultural business and applied economics. And I just think still being connected to parks, agriculture is still somewhat related, and it's definitely an interest I have in helping. At least I want to see some programs kind of closer to agriculture in our parks that I don't think are currently funded or currently offered. And I just think with that background, I have a good head to know how to really take a small little bit and maximize what we could do with what we're given.
Okay. Anything else?
And another main reason I want to do this is because my whole life I grew up with both my parents heavily involved in whatever we were doing, where my dad was PTO president in elementary, my mom was the treasurer for the athletic board, athletic boosters, and I just really got to see how they impacted the community. And as a father of one, going to be another in July, I just want my kids to also have that same experience and realize how giving back to the community can help, and how creating that community really helps give you purpose inside the community and shows you everything that you can do and how much you can really impact everyone.
Council have any questions for Derek? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Derek.
How do you?
Thanks for your letter of interest. It's always nice to have a Licking Heights grad come forward. What ideas do you have for programs when you talk about agricultural?
So agriculture, I live on 22 acres, and this year I brought in some organic farmers. So I have one girl that's doing a CSA type model where she's doing organic farming, and I have another guy doing chickens for eggs. I have a minor in meat science, so that's kind of really way more my interest of meats and everything. But I know just starting to talk to her and really seeing how much is involved in it. I know a lot of the community lives on less than a quarter an acre, and probably there's significant others really aren't that excited about tearing up their whole backyard to create garden plots. And I just wanna make sure that that's accessible to the community and people that don't have access to that to really get and grow your own food. I know as a kid, like my parents kinda tried to do that with us and it kinda went over my head, but now as an adult, I definitely see the benefit of not only adults in the community learning that, but also especially the kids in the community, and then also trying to reach out to the schools and either doing a volunteer program or trying to do something just to get the kids more involved in that and also just more involved in agriculture because it's a declining industry. I mean, average age of farmers, I think, approaching 60, so there's not many going into it.
Anything else? Mr. Higgin?
Yeah, thanks again for applying. Can you give me an idea of what you feel is one of the biggest issues facing the farm system?
As being a part of this community for 20 plus years and as being a younger person in the community, I don't really know what's going on in the parks as much as I feel like I maybe could or should, and I don't necessarily feel like the community is extremely well, there's a thorough line of communication between the parks and the community, and I really want to use social media to help connect that. And I mean, just being on I know Mr. Compton, you're on the Pataskla Facebook page, and to me it's a very active page, and you're very good at responding and replying and talking to the community. And I've also seen Mr. King, I've seen you start doing that. I think that's really good, and I think to continue that on into the parks and making sure that all the programs and all the events are thoroughly communicated and really outreaching to the constituents on what they want to see developed in the parks. 'Cause I mean, I have a lot of ideas, but I'm one person and all mine might be single-sided, but I want to know what everyone else would like to see get evolved as our community gets larger and larger, and see what other amenities people would like to see within our parks.
Lanier, you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have just one.
Yes, ma'am.
Favorite memory, other than soccer, when you're growing up here in Pataskla, what's your favorite memory that you would like to see maybe come back to the Pataskla area?
My favorite memory is honestly of municipal park and the pool, and I always loved that giant silver metal slide. And I mean, as a kid, and also just rolling down the hill of the municipal park. And I mean, I haven't been to the pool since I was in high school, so it's been a long time, but I know it's coming back, and I know it's doing well, and I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see that my kids have that place to grow up and play. And also, I work for a small family business, and we work in 10 parks around Central Ohio, and I see some of the major amenities that the really large cities have, and I'd like to see these aspects of those come into Pataskla, especially as we grow closer to those numbers and just people inside Pataskla.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So Chief, make a note if the slide ever comes up missing, know exactly where it's at.
Yeah. My backyard.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You guys have a great day. Thanks for your time.
Are you, okay, you gonna stick around?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ross. Name and address, please, sir.
Ross Friel. I live at 13138 Havens Corners Road. It's actually right across from Mr. May himself. So I've been involved with Pataskla Parks since I was 5 years old. I played soccer, I've coached soccer, I've refereed soccer, and now I manage the referees for our program at Foundation Park. So I've been involved in the parks in about every capacity you can imagine. And this past year I've also attended a number of park board meetings, and that's really what drew my interest here to apply today when I found the position was open. I was actually a part of the team that led the poster boards and the creation of the meetings to get the word out that parks do need funding, because that's an area where I think we really are lacking now. I feel like I've really been molded, I should say, by Pataskla and by my experience with the recreation program. And for that reason, I'd like to give back in the way I can, in any way I can. And here's an opportunity I see that I could do some good based upon my experience with the pool, with the parks, with fundraising and whatnot. And I believe that I also bring a voice of my generation to the table where I could help with some outreach to the younger crowd to get them involved in the parks. And I graduated from Licking Heights as well, so give me some love there. I go to Capital University right now. I will graduate in December with my bachelor's in biology, and then I'll be going on to PA school in likely the fall of 2019. That is the goal of mine. I'd like to work in ER and do med flight.
What school did you say you come to?
Positions.
What position?
Physician's assistant is what I want to
Okay.
become, but I go to Capital University in Bexley currently.
All right, any questions?
I just.
I know, you already got
I
this
know.
one, yeah.
Ross, seen you in the parks, and, you know, work with your mom, seen you in through all the levy efforts, and certainly know that you are well versed on things that go on with the park board. So I appreciate your interest. So it's nice to see you here.
Any questions?
I'll ask the same question I asked before, which is, you might have touched on it. What do you feel is the biggest issue facing the parks right now?
100%. I did touch on it. Funding, lack of funding to complete basic tasks and solve serious issues that I think are lacking in our parks. I know this because of my education in the fall for the levy, but we actually have 7 parks, which I would guarantee the majority of Pataska residents do not know. And so there's a lot of green space out there that's not being utilized. It's just there, it looks pretty, but no one's really using it. So I think I could, a goal of mine would be to create programs that are cost effective but also effective in bringing out crowds. And once we have them out there initially, that instigates further and future activities spent individually at the parks, which once you know it's there, you can use it.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You gonna stick around for a minute?
I am.
Okay. Justin, how are you, sir?
Good, good.
Name and address, please.
Justin Sally, 250 Key Boulevard. I saw the vacancy come up, and I thought it would be a good way for me to give back to the community. I've done real estate since 2004, and I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people move into a community or a neighborhood because of a park, or green space, or the programs that they have. That's why we moved in to our neighborhood in Brightwaters. I didn't think we'd find a house in there, but we found one, and it was our top pick because of the path that went to the community pool, which I kind of sort of helped out a little bit with the PRA when they were trying to get that thing from a green mess to a pool, and I didn't do that much to help out, just a little bit here and there, but it was a good experience, and it was important to me because I liked the fact that there was a pool there, because I like pools. I do spend a lot of time in the parks, not for one particular thing. My kids have done soccer. Right now my son is into tennis, so I was looking around like, where can we do tennis this summer? And I saw Beechwood Trails had a tennis court, and the school did. But he's played volleyball at the municipal, and uses shelter houses for birthday parties. I think that's about it. Oh yeah, and I will walk on that trail in Foundation all the time, all the way back in the woods, and looking at the flowers and plants and stuff like that. So that's about it. I mean, I just thought it'd be a good asset. There's different age groups too, younger people, older people. Everybody in Pataskala seems to fight and argue about things. I'm just kind of impartial and like, yeah, okay guys, let's calm down and keep yourselves under control, and just try and do the best we can with the funds that we have to take the funds and have things that people like doing, not just like young people, old people, because everybody uses the park for different things. That's about it.
I know you're very active in the community. Any questions? Yes.
Before I ask a question, I'll just say, picking up scrub brushes and shovels is no small part. That's huge. So when you're scrubbing that green pool, it's hugely appreciated.
Yeah.
So your efforts were not small. Thank you. Second, I'd just like to know if you were on the park board, what would be one of the main programs that you think we would a need or that you would be pushing for?
Well, I'd like to hear what everybody else says around town. I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about getting a dog park in town. Just, I think it was today on the Facebook page for Pataskla, I saw where's the best closest dog park. And I know working with a lot of the millennials, it's very important to them to have the dog park in the area. And a lot of people go to Pickerington, and I remember when they put that up, and I'm like, it's just a fence with some grass and a couple things. How hard is it? But it's really important to those guys. So yeah, just what's important to everyone as a whole. I don't have anything in particular I'd like to see in, but whatever's important to the most people, I suppose.
Any other questions? Yes.
I'll ask my usual. You've heard it 2 times, so you might be prepared for it, but what do you feel is the biggest issue facing the parks?
Well, I think it's a 2-part issue. I mean, funding is always there, but it's the funding, taking the funds that you have and applying it to a program or a couple programs or different things that the majority of the people want to do. I mean, if you have a bunch of funds and you build like one of those horseshoe throws, then you know how many people are actually going to use that compared to like a dog park or some of the things other people like. So funding and taking funds and doing the best thing you can with it.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
A question?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't know if this will come out eloquently, but stemming off of what you said about, getting the vibe of the community
Yeah.
and figuring out what they want. What do you think the best way to, because social media is great, but it's not everybody's on social media. So is there another way, or do you have an idea how to get the opinions of this diverse community? Like,
Well,
how do
yeah.
we get that information?
Yeah, I sure do. I mean, there's all these parks out here. You've seen how busy Foundation is on Saturday soccer days, and when we do other things like the police. I can't remember what it was called.
Picnic.
Cookout with a cop.
Yeah, Cookout with the Cop. All the people down there, but we have all these parks and different places and all these people going through. I mean, just a simple, some sort of communication, like a box that you put in, kind of like a podium like this, that just has a box with suggestions. I mean, it may get vandalized by the teenagers, but I mean, do that, or that's probably the most easiest, simple, old-fashioned way I can think of to do that.
No, just ask them,
Yeah.
Get a large group of people together and ask them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anything, Lanier?
No, sir.
Mayor Cobb. I would also reiterate Mel's comment, the part that you did with the pool was not a small part.
Oh, thanks.
I greatly appreciated all your help.
Oh, well, thank you.
So.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
I'm glad you all 3 stayed because this is not an easy decision, so unless the park board is in dire need of a person, I'm going to think about this for a little bit. Are you all right with that?
I'm okay with that.
Are you okay with that, Mr. King?
Yeah, the park board's made up of 5 members, we currently have 4, so, certainly enough to have quorum.
All excellent candidates. Derek, I've not met you, but very impressive. And of course, I love the fact that you're local and you've grown up here, and obviously, I've watched you grow up. And you've been very involved in the community. So I'd like to think about this for a little bit, and I'll decide at the next meeting and bring a recommendation, which then council will either approve or disapprove my selection, and we'll take it from there. So you're welcome to come to the next meeting, or we'll just give you why don't you come to the next meeting? That way, if somebody else has a question or I have a question to maybe be a tiebreaker, then you'll be here to talk, and we'll make that decision that night, okay? All right, and you're free to go. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting. Ed and Deb, you guys can take off
Mayor.
too. Yes.
The next meeting's June 18th, 7 p.m. here in this room.
And the next meeting is June 18th. All right?
Thank you all.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Anybody else wish to speak tonight? Citizens' comments? All right, seeing none. Introduction, discussion, and approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Hicken and seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda passes. On to reports. We had a marvelous day for our Memorial Day celebration. The crowd keeps getting bigger and bigger. Thank you, Alan and BJ, for coordinating, bringing bleachers and putting up the electronic board signs. Awesome weather, had to fly over, we shot the cannon, everything went perfect, so appreciate it. Farmers market is in full swing. Our first Friday, last Friday, was off the charts. Usually they start out kind of slow because there's not a lot of produce, but we were packed with not only produce but many other things, and again, good weather. So farmers market 4 to 7 every Friday night till September. You'll probably speak about the open house, right? For the firehouse.
Good.
Okay. No, you got it?
Oh, good.
I'll save it for you. I just didn't want you to forget. And this Saturday is the triathlon. Okay, you'll probably speak on that. All right. Just wanted to touch base real quick. I think I'd mentioned at the last meeting, or maybe it was on Facebook, I can't remember now, but we hadn't had an awards presentation for our police officers for a long, long time, and officer, I think it would be McGeorge, kind of picked up the ball on that. Worked with the chief and the deputy chief, and as I went around town expressing that we were going to do this again, somebody asked me what we were going to do for food, and I said, well, probably the old standby, pizza and pop, which these guys probably get enough of anyway. And Dairy Hut said, no way. Gave me $200 to go buy real food, and then served us with ice cream and all the toppings. So we had quite an evening here, right here in council chambers, and just want to give you a quick roundup on our awards. Our safe driving awards for this year went to officers Love, Maddox, Kellerman, McClellan, Morton, Mills, Detective Smith, and Sergeant Wrights. Those are officers that did not have any accident for a period of 36 months while being primarily assigned to patrol. Public service awards went to Mr. Morton, obviously, for all his community work with his K-9 partner, Junior, and for Sergeant Ramsey for all his work. If you remember when we celebrated little Braxton's life, and that was a lot of work, and we appreciated Mr. Ramsey for doing that. Special accommodations went to Detective Wiles and Sergeant Smith for several calls for stolen vehicles and burglaries in the area. These officers investigated the complaints, located 2 possible suspects, conducted a search warrant on a hotel room that the suspects were staying at, recovered stolen items, and arrested the 2 subjects. We've got some other ones here too, that officers Maddox, Beach, Mills, Detective Smith, Wiles, and Sergeant Smith, and Robinson, DeJesus, and Morton all called down on some of these special things. Mostly for, let's see, burglaries, aggravated robberies, and getting some narcotics off the street. Exemplary conduct, officers consistently conducting themselves in a professional manner led by example and be free of any discipline for any kind for a period of 36 months. That would have been Detective Smith and Detective Wiles. Medal of Merit, officers were dispatched to the report of a male on a roof of a house on Taylor Road. Officer arrived on the scene, observed a male attempting to jump out of an upstairs window in an attempt to harm himself. The officer grabbed the male by the legs. Officer attempted to pull the male in but was assaulted. The male struck the officer with his knees and his hands. The officer held on to the male while he was being assaulted for approximately 10 minutes before help arrived, and they were able to bring the male inside. That was Sergeant Wrights. And Officer of the Year, Detective Wiles, and Sergeant of the Year, Sergeant Mike Wrights. So this is something we're going to keep doing and compiling information during the year, and obviously once the new police station is built, have a more gala celebration back here, and we'll invite all of you. And I do appreciate Council President Timothy O. Hicken for attending and speaking to our officers. It was very well received. Thank you, sir. And that's all I have. Mr. Hicken.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also add that it was a pleasure to speak to those officers, and I was honored to be asked, so I appreciate that. I just have a couple things. Reminder that the Comprehensive Plan Committee meeting is coming up on
Tomorrow evening.
the 12th. Is that right? No,
Tomorrow evening?
I'm sorry.
It'll be the 5th.
Tomorrow evening, just a shout out to council. You can't come and talk, but it's kind of cool to listen to if you can make a hole in your night. The Station 2 open house at the corner of York and State Route 40 is this Saturday, which is the 9th. I believe it's 10 to 2. The reason I paused when the mayor said something to me about it before is I had a flyer with me and I left it in the car. So if the times change, I will send all of council a reminder.
10 to 2.
And I think that's all I have. Whoever did the flyover filming was good. It was nice to see on social media. It was really cool at the mall. So that's all for me.
And you know who was flying that plane, don't you?
Kip Kelsey?
Yes, our own magistrate, Kip Kelsey. Mr. Zetz.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. King.
I just have two quick items, Mayor. First of all, Just Combo sent out today about a ribbon cutting for a new business that's opening, Mr. Meatball. It is going in the plaza next to the Nutcracker. That ribbon cutting is at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I know the mayor will be there cutting the ribbon. And the second thing is, when we get the executive sessions this evening, I request that we go upstairs for those sessions. Thank you.
Anything for BJ? All right, Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor. Sent out a copy of my report earlier. A couple things. We expect to have our audit opinion issued at the end of this week. To date, it looks like it's going to be clean again, as it has been for a number of years. So thanks to all the department heads and everybody for working with us on that. I want to talk briefly about 2019 budget. The capital improvement, the CIP program, tools and templates and instructions went out to the department heads this week. I think about 10 days earlier than scheduled. So they have a couple extra weeks to spend their summer planning their capital programs, having fun doing so. But I did want to talk, since the Finance Committee wasn't able to meet, we were going to present the Finance Committee with the proposed budget schedule, which pretty much mirrors the last year's and the year before, just changing the dates to make them line up. I guess I just wanted to see if council was okay with that.
No, I think it's okay. I talked to Mr. King about it. I think that the administration's already using it as a planning tool. While we're on the topic of Finance Committee meetings before you end, I'd like to coordinate to get the makeup done,
okay.
Jamie, before you finish your report, so.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to touch on, the accounting clerk is now fully on board, and one of the tasks, the other ancillary tasks that I have for working on, we have done a good job of monitoring and tracking the capital assets, those assets that are depreciated and are big dollars, equipment, trucks, that type of thing. Where we have not done as strong of a job is tracking the non-capitalized but valuable assets, tablets, computers, printers, equipment, power tools, those types of things. So I have her going to be working with all the departments to go through, doing an inventory, and as we acquire items, those will start getting recorded as they come in. So we'll have the paperwork, we'll assign the asset tag to it when it comes in so that it will be automatically in the database. A couple reasons. One, obviously, from a control perspective, it's nice to know I can go into a room and say, okay, in this room I should find X, Y, and Z assets. Secondly, if, God forbid, we ever should have a fire or a theft, we can go in and say, in this room there were the following assets and they had this value when we walked in. So I think in the long run, it's a fair amount of work to get this all done, and it'll probably take her a number of months to get it done. But I think at the end of the day, when it is completed, we'll have a much better handle on and control over our walkable assets, I'll call them, the assets that can tend to walk away. That's all I have.
Anything for Jamie?
Mr. Mayor, so I think it'd be a good time with Kathy helping us on committee schedules to schedule the next finance committee meeting. I'd like to do it as soon as we can. How about June 18th, and let my fellow members speak up if that's not good for them.
What time?
Would 6 o'clock be okay?
We have
6
nothing.
o'clock? Nothing? Okay, so June 18th at 6 o'clock? Is that good for everybody? Okay, great. So it's the same purpose, Kathy, that we had for the last, I think you already have it. If you don't, Jamie or I can get it to you. Okay. Great, thank you.
Anything else for Jamie? All right, Nate?
Hello, sorry for not having a report between taking some time off and losing track of the month or whatever. But quick update, I think I remember sharing with some of you, the Beechwood Trails Tower, it was fixed, for under $5,000. We had it back online before Memorial Day weekend. So that's great. Creek Road is going well. Really great contractor to work with. I expect at the end of this week we should have 1,000 feet done. Good progress. They're doing about 500 feet a week. And other than that, I'll bring up something last week. Last Thursday, Mr. Hicken attended our southeast section of the Ohio Water Environment Federation Association meeting, and Mr. Hicken was selected as the Public Servant of the Year award for the southeast section. He came down. So that's all I have.
Well, as the public servant of the year, I get a question.
Sure.
First of all, I want to thank you very much.
Sure.
It came with a tour of both the Jackson Pike and the southerly massive wastewater plant, and it was amazing how big those places are. And they've put in this giant storm retention water. It's, I forget how tall.
200 feet deep.
200 feet deep, but it's in the ground. It's not above ground. So you stand there and look over, and you're looking at straight down 200 feet of nothing but giant pipes that come from Lord knows where. So I was humbled and very grateful to receive that award. So thank you very much. On the Creek Road project,
Yes.
I see 2 open holes.
Mhm.
Can you tell me what those are?
Yes, one is basically, since it's directional boring, one is a hole to basically send, and it's a sending and receiving hole, if you will. So and at those openings where they've made those cuts, if you will, we're double using those, and that's where we're putting our hydrants. So as they move the pipeline along and get it pulled through, they're gonna set a hydrant, backfill. Once they get to the other end, they'll open another hole and just kind of keep pushing it until we get to the end, for basic final connection, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for Nate? Thank you, sir. Alan?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a few things to talk about tonight. First is Refugee Road widening, which is for development in Etna Township, the villas of Cumberland. That's going to be happening soon. I'm meeting with the contractor tomorrow morning to discuss the details of that. Not sure what the schedule is yet. I'll be sure to let everybody know once we do know. The short of it is the westbound lane will remain open. The eastbound lanes will be closed. Again, I'm not sure of the period of time for that.
When that's gonna happen, I'll know more after I meet with the contractor tomorrow. The portions closed is in the township though, so. Any questions on that before I move on? I see some.
We own part of that road.
We own the northern half of it, they own the southern half. It is in our maintenance area, so we've coordinated with the county and the township on that.
Thank you.
Is this just a lane widening, or are they going through and repairing also the damaged lanes?
It'll be a lane widening and a resurfacing. We're meeting with the contractor tomorrow. We're gonna try and get in there and do some culvert work and some other work as needed in that area while they've got that closed from other work. Second item is tornado sirens. I know there's concern there. We've got all but one of them fully operational. The one that's remaining is the main garage. There's a few more things wrong with that one. We have a separate proposal we're looking at with the contractor on that. Anticipate once we get all the rest of them finalized out, we'll get that one finished up here in the near future. Third item is the supplemental that's on for first reading tonight. There's a few topics within that. The first is Mink Street Phase 3. There's roughly 65,000 there. And I think the number actually says 60,000, but it needs to be 65. I didn't account for 5,000 of that, so I'm not sure what needs to be done to make that amendment.
60.
Do that. 60, it should be 65 by 62. So I think we'll amend that at the second reading. Is that correct, Jamie?
What's that?
Amend that at the second
We
reading.
plan to amend that at the second reading.
And that's due to additional plan requirements by ODOT. They said some additional things need to be done after the stage 3 plans. Jobs and Henderson completed that work, and we're getting the bill for that now. The second thing with that project, I think I sent out an email about this last week, because the utilities aren't out of the way on Main Street. That's gonna be delayed another month until July 5th, for the start date for our contractor. We're having a meeting out there this Friday with ODOT and the utilities to discuss the plan moving forward to get that, resolved and get our project moving. The second, topic within the supplemental is Taylor Road. That was an additional 50,000. Basically, the cost estimate was from 2013. Now, 5 years later, the prices have increased. Not much more to say about that one, other than that the Taylor Road project is scheduled for a sale date of June 7th. So ODOT should be putting that out to bid. Is that Thursday? So that should be moving forward. The final part, which would be added at the second reading for that supplemental, is the Main Street Phase 3. We have not added that at this time because we did not know the extent of the additional costs. We do know that there is some additional that was already in the project from it going over. Now we've received a change order roughly at 2% of the total cost for increases in prices from 2015 to now in 2018, since that project hasn't been finished. Thinking that number is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 65 to 70,000. We'll know more before the next council meeting. All that totals up to a total of around 180,000 for the supplemental. And I guess I just want to remind everybody that we did have 300,000 in savings last year, which we've talked about places to put that, kind of earmark it for things, but not used any of it. So we're still looking pretty good from that savings at least. And that's all everything I have on the supplemental. Happy to answer any questions if we've got any right now for that.
Tornado sirens, next year, are we gonna test them earlier,
So
February, January, somewhere along, make sure they,
So I think I mentioned this at a couple council meetings. Now what we're doing is the first Wednesday of every month they are testing.
okay.
The first one that we were going to do was last month, but of course it was set off from a different location, which ours are not compatible with. Lincoln County EMA is aware of that, and they would set them off if needed from their location. But we'll go out every first Wednesday, so we'll be out there here in 2 days and have guys on station at each location to make sure that they are.
Okay, maybe I missed that. Okay, thanks.
Last item I have is Oak Meadow Drive. There's a couple questions I wanted to get ahead of on that one. One would be the easement. I did stop this past Friday and drop the survey exhibit off to the resident there. and asked them to contact me with any questions, concerns. So I'm hoping to hear back from them soon. And then the other side of that is the deed of easement. Gone ahead and we've got our lawyer involved in that to get that deed of easement drawn up. So hopefully they're good with the location, and next time I visit them, I can provide them with that deed of easement, and we're good to move forward. The other side of Oak Meadow is there's been some concern about the schedule. So at asking of Ms. Sams, which I thought was a very good idea, I'm gonna put something together this week, basically a status report on what's happened to date and where we're at with that. I've done a little bit of preliminary work on that to just kind of give an outline of the timeframes of what's happened so far. I'd be happy to go into detail on that, but won't at this time unless otherwise requested. And that is all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
House at Mink and Broad, how soon will our intersection be put together?
Well, we have to make a final decision on the change order request from the Shelley Company for the additional funds and appropriate that money to get that to happen.
That'll be added at the second reading of the supplemental.
Okay. And then,
Oh, and I forgot to brag about the house being down. I was happy to watch that go down.
yeah, I think we were all cheering there. Knowing that Mink is littered with telephone poles and blah, 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 is there, now that we're going to stretch it out another month, will we attempt to try to mow Mink Road?
So we're behind on mowing right now because we have 2 mowers that are broken. We're hitting everything with the arm mower that we can. We've got parts on order. We're expecting them this week and hopefully get back up and running. So we are a little bit behind on mowing. I mentioned that in the report, but forgot to mention that again as I was talking here. So Mink will be on the list.
I just know that now it's littered with, they've got telephone poles that they're laying in there because they're gonna be putting them up and stuff like that, but it would look, hopefully we get it cut before they do construction, that would help them out a little bit. Mr. Hicken, what do you got?
It's just, as it relates to Oak Meadow, I've said it before, but I haven't said it for a while, is remember that the street fair parade goes right down Oak Meadow. So, if it looks like it's gonna be torn up during that, we may wanna get in touch with the people that put on the parade and let them know, or search for an alternative, or whatever. It's just a bug in your ear about it.
Okay, and that was mentioned to me just the other day. I think with where we're at, we have to wait till after the street fair to begin the project. Would probably be the best scenario, and our schedule would probably be roughly that anyways.
I guess I have a second question to follow up.
Sure.
It's a fast one. It's, as all these projects, look at Taylor Road, look at Oak Meadow, they all seem to be happening later in the year. Do you foresee any problems with completion because they're starting in August?
That potential certainly exists. With Taylor Road, I don't think that will be much of a problem. All the work is off the road, and it's a trial project, so that shouldn't be too much of a concern. Oak Meadow certainly could become an issue as we move forward, depending on whether we get the easement and wrapping up the plans.
Yes, sir.
We got a quick question on the phase 3. I know when we had about ready to give my report for the committee, the street committee, we talked about $33,000 change order at that time.
Correct.
Is there new items that have come up since that time of our May 30th meeting?
No, there's not new items. There was the original budget. We were already over the original budget by roughly $20,000 to $30,000.
So this is, okay, so I understand. So this was the stuff we had talked about previously where we were over, then additional 33 for the signal, for essentially the signal,
Well,
additional costs.
It wasn't all for the signal, but yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Total
Cost
for
of
project.
Understand, okay, I got it. Thanks.
Anything else for Alan? Thanks, sir. Lanier?
All right, first thing on my list is resolution 030. On Friday, I finally submitted the NatureWorks grant. For that grant, the total allocation for Lincoln County county was 68,579. After having the vision and putting everything on paper, total amount came up to 84,000. We're able to go over that limit. The county allocation is only 68,000, so anything over that limit, we would have to have our 25% match plus the additional overage of the 68,000. Within that grant, I applied to acquire 2 shade structures, a walking path around the perimeter. The walking path would merely be mulch at that point. I tried to get a quote for a surfacing, but it came out to be $64,000, so I said, nope, we got plenty of mulch. We possibly can just do it that way and then work in the future to make it more multi-use. Also acquired to put in a small playground area, more geared towards children age 2 to 5. Any questions on that one before I move forward?
Yes, sir.
Can you just talk about that grant program that we're not obligating ourselves to spend any money at this time? And we're able to, say if we get something, the county gives us $30,000, we're able to amend and adjust the plan
Yes.
to make it fit that $30,000.
And we don't have to get everything that I put in for it. So we're able to get a certain amount from that allocation. If we get $33,000, we can pick and choose which structures or which amenity we would like to add into the park and just go with it. So the total amount could be significantly less than $17,000, which would be the 25% match of $68,579.
Yes.
Just can you inform them of the schedule of when the money would need to be available?
2019, so after talking with Tim Robinson, he basically stated that if we are able to appropriate or promise the funds will be available within budget for 2019, we wouldn't need to have it right now at this time in 2018. So we are able to plan for it for 2019's budget.
Yes, sir.
Just one other thing with that. With that, if we are awarded, we'll be looking at the Park Use Fund, which is the money that is paid with each new house building permit or commercial building permit that is submitted that must be used on capital improvements for the parks.
Yes, ma'am.
When will we know if we're awarded this grant?
We will not know until November or December.
Which is far past the time we do our budget for 2019.
Yes.
All right. Anything else, sir?
I got a lot. On Wednesday, the municipal park shelter roof will be replaced and I would like to also say that July is National Parks and Recreation Month. I have quite a few things on the schedule already planned for the community. I reached out to Licking County Soil and Water Education, and they're planning to bring 3 activities, 3 separate dates at 3 different parks. July 12th, we'll have a rain barrel workshop at Foundation. July 23rd, we'll have a string team come out to Municipal Park. Adults and children are welcome to come. Also, on July 28th, at Liberty Park, we'll have a water model education. I think they'll come out, and we'll also try to have a fishing day. ODNR is going to meet with me in a week to discuss our opportunities to have Passport, and their program is called Passport. They will come out, have a fishing day at the lake or pond, and it'll be a community event. So my idea is, with July being National Parks and Recreation Month, for future planning, be able to offer activities and events consistently throughout all of our parks. That way they are being utilized the way that they should be. Playground mulch is set to be delivered within the next 2 weeks. We're in dire need of playground mulch to make them compliant with code. So that'll be done within the next 2 weeks. And new grills will also be installed within the month at our facilities as well. That's all I have on my list to discuss.
Is Penny Zuber working with you from Jersey Baptist? Is that this week at the?
That's Care Week. Care Week is this week. So I've been working
This is
with
this week?
Travis, yes. They've been at Foundation.
Very good.
Yep. But I've been helping them out a little bit.
Hope the weather holds for them, and thank you. Anything for Lanier? Yes.
Just a quick question, on the playground mulch being delivered, does that mean you're looking for volunteers to place that? Or is that something the city is gonna have, I guess, street committee or street,
After speaking with Jason just last week, we plan to have all 500 yards of mulch be delivered at Foundation Park, and they would truck it away at each park depending on how much is needed. But it's an opportunity to have a Friday volunteer day.
I just wondered if you had something starting to be scheduled, or if this was gonna be something that fit into Jason's schedule when he could do it.
We're fitting it in on our Park Friday at this point. But I do have the juveniles who vandalized. I do have them coming out on 4 different days in the month of June. They're gonna come out July 1st for cleanup after the fireworks, and also a few other days. I'll actually have one of them on Friday in preparation for the Active Fit event on Saturday at Municipal Park. So we'll be doing some things out there as well.
Yes, sir.
Extra hard things, I know.
Go ahead.
Just another quick question. I believe, maybe 2 meetings ago, you brought up a, Eagle Scout project that's happening at Liberty.
Oh, Liberty Park, yes. I met with Matthew Ufferman. Just last week I was with Ann and also a few other guys, and it's a go. I told him that he was able to clear the brush, add the ramps, replace a few boards on the bridge to make it nice, and also add new bolts, as most of the bolts that were on the structure were off. And he plans to give me a continuous update when he plans to come out, and I'll go out and not really supervise, but just see what he's doing. That'll liven up Liberty Park quite a bit.
Can I just follow up question to that, when you're with, that being the bridge and such that they're doing the repairs on, are we having that inspected, or are they having that officially inspected somehow to make sure that the repairs
Jason
are
and
solid?
Alan went over there with me. I gave them the to-dos and not-to-dos, or Alan gave me what they should be doing and should not touch. And those are specific things that I told Matthew, and he is aware not to go under the bridge or clear the dam that he anticipated to do. But everything else was a go and did not need to be necessarily inspected. Basic items, but I'll be working with Alan on that project just to make sure everything's good.
Just making sure somebody's regularly checking on them.
Yeah.
Anything else for Lanier? Thank you, sir. Chief Brooks?
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to announce that I've given 2 conditional offers of hire to 2 guys to replace Officers Biller and Gross. If they pass the psychological exam and the pension physical, then they will be offered a position.
And how soon?
They're scheduled for their psychological this week, and I haven't heard back from Licking Memorial for their pension physicals yet, but probably in the next couple of weeks.
Very good. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Yes.
I just had a quick question. In supplemental, you guys are obviously talking about the new kits for any of the new employees that you bring in.
Yes.
I don't know if these 2 would be included in that supplemental that you're asking for at this point or not. That'd be part A.
Yes.
And then secondly, what happens to the old kit? What happens to the old maybe you guys covered this already and I missed it, but.
No, we did. I had the same question because.
What happens to it?
Yeah, can I just something, the way it's written in the report, it makes it sound like you just read the paragraph. What it sounds like is that when an officer, you hire an officer, he gets a gun, he gets his vest, he gets all the belt and uniforms, and then when he leaves, all that goes with him. And that's why you need the $12,000. That's the way it's written up.
I got you.
Yeah.
And that is not accurate. We get back everything that we give them. Unfortunately, people are all different sizes.
Sure.
We aren't able to use everything. I can tell you the vests are a big part of that, and they actually have an expiration date,
Right.
so that's part of the issue as well. And no one keeps firearms; those get reused.
Makes it sound like they keep the firearms, the
That's how
vest,
I
the
read
way
it
it's
also.
written, the firearm, the vest, and I mean, I understand having been issued clothing that other people wore when I was in the military, that's not always cool. I prefer that people keep their uniforms, but, the other stuff, we do get it back.
Well, we collect all the shirts because they have our patches on it.
Okay.
It's our
Okay.
property, so
Alright.
we do that, and we
Sorry,
do reuse those for auxiliaries and to help supplement, to get guys on the street. quicker while we're waiting for their uniforms to be.
So this may be backup material or something you guys, a belt or something could be is kept, and we have it, right?
Yes, yes. We have a whole room full of it.
Okay, yeah.
Gotcha.
Nobody goes out of here with anything.
No.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Anything else, Chief?
No, sir.
Okay. Committee chair reports. Yes, sir.
I've got a couple. We've had a couple of street committee meetings. We had one on the 30th. It was quite an active meeting. There were 21 items on the list. Some of the most have been covered through Alan's report, but a couple that I wanted to just highlight that you'll probably remember have been brought to council, and we've talked about in the past. We're still talking about them, but they're on the list. Bristol Drive. We are still continuing to look into the Bristol Drive drainage. Columbia Road culvert replacement, wanted to let people know that is complete, and the final change order has been agreed to. It was an $18,000 change order for the project, which Alan at that point has correctly, assumed correctly, told us is under budget, which is good. The Columbia Road bridge replacement has a minor punch list, but it's nearly complete, which are very good, both of those. We talked a lot about the Headley's Mill at Mile Run. The erosion that's potentially undermining the roadway, which we have gone through and fortified. We were talking about environmental issues, whether we can get into the creek and realign it, move it away from the road essentially. That is not going to be something we can do, and that we're going to continue to monitor the stream and look into some potential ways to fortify the embankment to keep the road from having additional problems. The 2018 ramp, as Alan had mentioned in his report, 75% plans. They're being reviewed now. We should have comments this week. We're hopeful that first advertisement goes out June 20th and sell by the 19th of July. We talked in some detail in this meeting, but further tonight's meeting, about the Licking Heights improvements that they are doing school-wise up on Cable and the impacts to the road in that area. Still a lot to be found out and continued some more questions on that, specifically a traffic impact study for that area. As Alan mentioned in his report, we talked about the Broadview Crossing drainage. The detail that we were given at that point is we're waiting on the Evans Foundation, to give approval for a swale to be put across there and an easement essentially to go over that. Hopefully that can get, we're hopeful that that's done here soon. We hear back from them quickly. Some other things that we've already talked about, the Mink the Mink Street Improvement Phase 2, the utilities issues, and also the Mink Street Phase 3 with House and the change orders, which we've gone over. The last, I'd say another important issue that we talked about was TS Tech. And this was a request from them to use a driveway that is located on Taylor Road, a new driveway that they've since installed as an exit for their employees. Several suggestions were made to Alan, potentially our engineer, to go back to them with as far as how to regulate that and not let it become more than just an exit for employees during certain time periods of the day. We're waiting to hear back what all of their answers may be to that. One of them was a strong suggestion to make this a trial time period. So monitor it, find out what kind of impact it has on Taylor Road. The traffic study that was provided to us does not show any improvements on Taylor Road to be made. So no turn lanes or other signage other than to put up a sign that says the driveway. And I don't know if everybody knows where we're talking about. This is just south of the railroad tracks. Used to be the Jess Howard Park. Anyhow, they'll be required to put up some signs that say no entrance. But But at this point, we're waiting to hear back on a few other ideas that we'd like them to agree to. Yes?
Since you're on that subject, I just have a question.
Sure.
Who's gonna monitor that?
Well, at the time when during the committee meeting, we suggested posting an officer in that area to monitor what kind of traffic congestion we might have if there's accidents. So the other way we can do that is to, obviously we have accident reports, people exiting, crossing lanes when in high traffic, visibility coming over the railroad tracks. Those types of things are gonna be stuff we're gonna see pretty quickly if there's indeed a problem. Now, we've got a traffic report, we've got a traffic study that says those things are not a problem, and that we're not going to see these issues, but we have some skepticism. Yes, Mr.
They have a
Barstow.
traffic light on Broad Street, what more do they want?
So they feel
get
that the traffic congestion at the intersection, and Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, because Alan's met with them more than I have, or that I've heard from them, is that the traffic congestion at Taylor and Broad is, especially when during not only during peak times, but when they let out, obviously, they have serious trouble making the left turn. Is this correct, Alan? Left turn onto Taylor to go north? Is that correct?
Yeah, they want to be able to shortcut that light, basically. So if they come out to the light on Broad Street, it's the people that are already going left on Broad Street and frequently left on Taylor. So the people coming out that drive would be the people that were already on Taylor Road, effectively, is their argument. So they're coming, instead of going to the light at Broad, coming to the light at Taylor, and then going north on Taylor, they're just going to be able to go north on Taylor from that access point. That's their claiming the function would be.
I drive through there every day.
I also.
At different times, I've never, I can't imagine, okay.
Well, we're, yeah, go ahead, Mel.
And I just want to expand exactly what you're saying, Todd, is, we talked about that saying, while they are already on Taylor, it's also an interruption to the flow that's already happening on Taylor with a light and, with traffic controls in place where they're cutting into that. So, I, as a resident of Taylor, have some concerns with it. So when we talked about, it's a window though, of like an hour?
It's about
3 to 5, wasn't it?
Was it 3 to 5?
I think 2:30 to 5.
2:30 to 5?
2:30 to 5.
2:30 to 5, okay.
That's where we talked about communicating with you, Chief, just to see what, if we could get extra patrol around peak time to kind of see how that works. I know that you guys are already pretty tasked, but there is some concerns with them cutting into that traffic.
I can tell you
especially turning left.
Yeah, I can tell you that's a really tough time for us. It's a really busy time, school's getting out, things like that. It leaves me uneasy, I will say that, because all those people, the only reason they want to go through there is because they want to turn left. You're right there at Cypress. There's a lot of truck traffic, a lot of other business traffic in there. It causes me some concern.
Go right ahead.
Well, I come that way every day. Coming back home, one thing I've noticed is that the left turn lane eastbound on Broad to go north on Taylor could be long. It could be longer. They have one of those. They have the wide, the suicide lane wide because there's nothing to turn left into
Except COTC.
But you're not allowed to. You can't turn left if you're eastbound on Broad going to see. You're not allowed. There's a sign that says "Don't come in here. Use Taylor Road." I'm just saying. So maybe we could look at expanding the left turn lane. I know we have that working with ODOT. That's probably even more complicated. But traffic backs up there. People wanting to turn left, it backs up out onto Broad Street. So
If I could just, as a former claim adjuster, add to that, there's a reason they keep that short, because then people like to use that as just a third lane, and then they will get in it way too early when it's not even necessary to get over yet and fly down it, and people cut in front of them, and then, so they keep it short, so you have to slow down
people do
and
it.
wait. They do it anyhow,
They do it anyway.
but at least it's
They
a
run
legal
that
lane.
suicide lane No, it's not legal to run on the suicide van. It's
Right,
not-
that's what I'm saying,
that's
at
a-
least then it is illegal.
Right.
If we
Oh,
make
okay.
it legal, then we have less recourse. That's just my.
Okay, no, it's, okay.
I think there were,
Sorry.
it's a continuing discussion from this meeting. We certainly weren't making any motions or any approval of it per se. And we ask again this evening, at tonight's meeting, you know, if there was any update on that. And it seems like there might have been a little bit of pushback to a couple of our ideas. But I think it's still, Alan, I would say, obviously with what you've heard from the chief and the other concerns of council, I would take that back to them.
Okay, just one, I guess, point, I guess I'm a little confused. I guess coming out of the meeting on Wednesday, it sounded like we were good to move forward once we had that agreement. We've had some stipulations of level of service and that sort of thing. But we need to come back to the street committee with that, because that, GS Tech did not come out of that meeting with this understanding that it had to come back.
Right. I believe what we had said out of the committee was you were gonna come back to council, correct? That's what I
Okay, that was not my, that's why I want
Okay.
clarification.
Well, I would say at least back to street committee. That's what I at least asked about this evening. I think we have to have a pretty solid plan, you know, that we're not skeptical that they're not gonna be using it for other reasons.
I mean, that's kind of how we got here in the first place.
Okay.
We originally opened it up for emergency, and then they did something that we found that they were using it, so that's how we kind of came to this
And I
agreement.
know there's still other things you guys check with Scott. I would obviously encourage you to talk with the chief some more about his concerns.
Yeah, cause I'll tell you right now, monitoring it, if we were to put an officer there, that would take an officer off the street. If we put an officer there to monitor it and he had to take off on a domestic or something, you'd lose all that information unless they're willing to pay for an
Exactly.
off-duty officer to sit there and take some numbers. That's the only way that's gonna happen. The safety to our residents, TS Tech isn't even in the city, is it?
Nope. No.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't wanna be hard-nosed, but our residents come first, and if they would wanna, if it's a
Mayor, I would just mention that part of their property is in the city, obviously.
Right.
But anyhow, I would agree with you. I think this needs some more,
Sure.
Look back to the committee.
Yes, Mr. King?
I was just gonna say, and Andy just hit on it, that this should continue to remain with the committee until it is released, and we have agreement on, all the stipulations with TS Tech, and everybody's comfortable, so.
Cause wasn't this originally, there was gonna be trucks? And
Originally, if they came in to request this originally because, they only have the one access on the broad. And their concern was, what if there's an accident there? And then there's something that happens back at their facility and emergency vehicles can't get in. So they came in and said, hey, can we have emergency access? We did it and said, just an emergency only, that's it. Well, it started out then then ultimately we found out that their employees were using it. And we said, that is not the intent of this. And that's how we have now arrived at this discussion with them of wanting to use it for their employees to exit, the facility, at the end of their shift.
Okay.
Not quite done.
Okay, go ahead.
So, some more items that were updated at this meeting. We obviously have continued discussions about drainage projects, additional drainage projects, scoping and priority review of those drainage projects. We talked a little bit more about retention and detention basin inventory and analysis tonight's committee. Those have to do with existing detention basins, whether there's an HOA existing or not an HOA existing, who owns that pond, and how do we enforce maintenance to those ponds. An update on the Main Street easements to finish out that project. As of the 30th, there were 2 easements still to be received.
Correct.
And AEP was looking at a possible reroute. I don't know if there was any update. I can't give you an update on that at this point.
AEP is considering other reroutes, but we continue to pursue trying to get those, so we don't have to do any reroutes.
Okay.
Because the best option is to get the easements, and that's the path we want to pursue.
Okay, so we're still working on that. And last but not least, I know that the Foundation Park Septic is being looked at, and Lanier is going to work on that and get that done here. I would assume in due course. get that installed. And take any additional questions.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Go, Tommy.
I just wondered, with Bristol, the drainage, have you communicated with the homeowners that we met with last fall, but it's still,
Mr. D'Onofrio, no, I have not. I think that was the only one that was.
you think we should reach out and just tell them that it's still being looked at and we haven't forgot about them? Or I can, it doesn't matter, I know we met out there.
Either way, it's fine.
Yeah, we can reach out to them, that kind of stuff, so.
Sounds good.
Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, my question kind of centers a little bit more on, I attended both of those meetings, and my kudos to everybody involved. There was a lot of work crammed through. Tonight I was sitting there, and I heard a little bit of a conversation that had to do with International Drive and the stuff that we've talked about with Taco Bell. But it also veered isn't the right word. It correctly progressed down a path of discussion for abandoned retention areas. And I did not hear it come back to, do we have plans to specifically address that Taco Bell soon? Not like you don't have enough on your plate, I realize that, but I didn't hear anything come of that, and I just wanted to see if you.
So the legislation that we had proposed, and we're working on, I thought that was going to be the answer to that problem. Turns out, from my conversations with Mr. Zetz, we think we already have what we need on the books to answer that question. So I'm gonna look at that and then pursue that based on what we already have.
Right, Tim, the clarification was what we could work on. So things that are owned, for instance, the Taco Bell, that the existing ordinance can take care of that and make them force those repairs. And then, as you correctly said, it was the other ones that haven't had the same maintenance, and we don't have an ownership. That's where the issue came up that we digressed to.
Okay. Thank you.
All done?
That's all.
Any other committee chair reports?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one. The Buildings and Grounds Committee met at 6:30 this evening. Its sole purpose, for the most part, was to hear a presentation by a youngster in our community. Her name is Jasmine Stroh. As part of her bar mitzvah program, she had come to the Buildings and Grounds Committee asking about blessing boxes. These are boxes, if you think of the best illustration I can give is the boxes that were put around the city and the parks with the books in them that have a door on them. This young lady is suggesting that at 3 positions in the city, these boxes be constructed, and basically what's put in them is non-perishable food for people that need non-perishable food. It's part of what she has to do as part of her religious bar mitzvah. So she has identified these. As a result of that, we talked to her. We asked her several questions ranging from how much are they going to be, which is about $200 to $300 a box, to where does she think they might want to put them. In the end, the Buildings and Ground Committee made a recommendation to council to permit up to 3 blessing boxes in areas to be determined by Ms. Jasmine Stroh and the city administrator. And the city administrator was fine with that, and her family was fine with that. So I will be making a motion to that effect during the motions portion of tonight's meeting, I believe. But that recommendation was passed by the Buildings and Grounds Committee. And that's my only report.
Any other committee chair reports? All right, unfinished business. Ordinance 2018-4315. You have something you want to tell me?
No, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, for 43215, yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to recuse myself from any participation in this ordinance.
All right, very good, sir. Ordinance 2018-4315 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lee. Kathy, when you're ready, third reading, please.
Ordinance 2018-4315, this is the third reading, an ordinance to rezone properties located at North End Drive, parcel number 064-310 536-00.000 and 65 South Main Street, parcel number 064-310050-00.000, totaling 0.70 plus or minus acres in the city of Pataskla from the medium high-density residential district R15 zoning classification to the general business district GB zoning classification.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Move we adopt ordinance 2018-4315.
Got a motion to adopt, need a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lee. Kathy, when you're ready.
Howe,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2018-4320 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Carter. Kathy, when you're ready.
Ordinance 2018-4320, this is the third reading, an ordinance granting franchise to Licking Rural Electrification Incorporated of Newark, Ohio. Its successors assigns the right to acquire, construct, maintain, and operate in the streets, thoroughfares, alleys, bridges, and public places of the city of Pataskla, Ohio, lines for the distribution of electric energy to the city of Pataskla and its inhabitants thereof for light, heat, power, and other purposes, and for the transmission of the same within, through, or across the city of Pataskla.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move to
Adopt.
adopt ordinance 2018-4320.
Second. What happens when you step away for a couple seconds?
What happens? The brain just shuts off.
Okay, I have a motion to adopt, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2018-4316 for a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Carter, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading.
Ordinance 2018-4316, this is the second reading, an ordinance to amend chapter 1293 of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataskla and repeal all their ordinances and parts of the ordinances in conflict therewith.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move to amend ordinance 2018-4316 by substitution as shown in Exhibit A.
I have a motion to amend,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion and roll.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
If this is amended, per Exhibit A, is that when it needs to go, does it have to go back to planning?
You would have to go back to Planning and Zoning Commission since you're amending their recommendation to council.
And what would you estimate is the delay on that? Is that a 3-month delay, 2-month delay? What would you estimate that?
I would think a 1-month delay, they could discuss it at their next meeting and bring it back to council then for the first meeting thereafter. I would wanna, not fast track it, but I'd wanna have it on that track so there isn't a delay in it.
Okay.
So anything they change anything we change goes back to them, and then they would bring it back. It would still be the third reading when it comes back? If it approves now? What, Mr. Zets?
It would be a third reading on the amended legislation.
I have to look. I don't think that's possible because you got to read it on 3 days. So you'd have to read. The third reading would be the next time unless it was.
Right.
Right.
That's what
what
we
I
mean.
said.
It wouldn't start over.
Yeah, but you have to have the third reading and be the next council meeting. You can't have a second reading, have this motion amended, send it back to committee, and then say we'll read it at some random next council
So
meeting.
this has to be tabled or something?
You'd almost have to. I'd have to take a look at it. I don't.
That's why I was asking that question, because it seemed to me that if we don't, because we're gonna get into that same rule about if it comes back and is amended or whatever the case may be, I don't know how we can do our third reading after this.
Let our resident expert.
Go ahead.
So
Okay,
not
Kathy,
like-
go ahead.
In the past, previously, when we've had a motion to amend something that has been recommended by the planning commission, it requires a supermajority for that amendment to take effect. And then we continued with our readings
So
and
with the
adoption.
supermajority, it doesn't have to go back.
Well, that's
Right.
the only way you could, that's the only way you could not adopt what planning commission has recommended with the supermajority vote. But when you have that, it's not going back to planning commission.
That's right.
It's just whatever council decides to amend.
So
That's
we
why, that's
could-
why you don't have this going back and
Okay,
forth.
so we could, second reading, amend tonight, and then schedule for a third reading, the amended.
Why couldn't we,
As long as you have 5 votes
Right.
tonight in favor.
yeah, essentially approve the amendment with a supermajority in the
Yes.
second reading?
And then have it for a third.
That's what I was gonna.
And not back to planning commission.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It does not go back to planning.
No.
and zoning.
If it's approved by, if the amendment's approved by supermajority,
At the third reading.
the amendment.
Oh, amendment, okay, gotcha, all right. Okay, so we had a motion to amend, and it was seconded. And Kathy, we need a roll then on the motion to amend.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken.
Yes.
Okay, motion to amend passes. So that was the second reading, we have the third reading at the next meeting.
Yes.
Very good. Resolutions, motions, any motions there? No. Ordinance, new business, ordinance 2018-4321 for a first reading.
So moved.
Seconded by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Hicken. Kathy, when you're ready. First reading.
Ordinance 2018-4321, this is the first reading, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018.
Discussion? Okay, on to resolutions. Resolution 2018-030, resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator or his designee to apply for a 2018 Ohio Department of Natural Resources Nature Works grant.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hickens, seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion? Yes, sir.
And you're looking at what's in Fund 207, when you've already, the plan for next year takes, it's already budgeted $79,000, so Ms. Carter pointed out, we're gonna find out about this after the budget's been passed, so I would encourage you to work with Mr. King and Jamie to.
Yeah, it would have to be done as a supplement.
Right,
before
but I'm just-
awarded to
Generally
anyone.
speaking, we don't include things unless we've been given an award letter that we.
Well, I know, but I just let you know that that's
Yeah.
already, that fund, there's already a plan, I don't know what the plan is, but just checking that, that's all I have to offer. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Walther,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Very good. Resolution passes. On to additional citizens' comments.
Actually, Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry.
I'd like
Got a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for council to permit up to 3 blessing boxes to be installed in areas of the city to be determined in conjunction with the city administrator, in conjunction with Miss Jasmine Stroh.
Got a motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And bless you.
Excuse me.
Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
You have a yes?
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Will you contact Jerica, please?
Yeah, I told him already that I'd be in touch with him in the morning.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Any other motions tonight? Sorry, I missed that. All right, additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak? You have 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Anita Rolfe, 12520 Refugee Road, Southwest. I live on Refugee Road, as I just said, and I live just on the northeast corner where Mink and Refugee cross. The traffic is pretty crazy on that road anymore. even though it's condition-wise a mess. Now, I wouldn't say I'm supposed to know everything, but I anticipated the widening someday, and apparently it's imminent. Now, that thing is just gonna be like a freeway. It's a straight shot from 310 way down to, Summit Road. At the very least, I hope someone's anticipating putting a light at Minkin Refugee. That's not gonna slow down a lot of that, but there's gonna be a lot of traffic, and the intersection at Minkin Refugee is gonna get pretty dangerous. And then I hope there's some way to figure out how to slow down the traffic as it's flying down that road, 'cause it flies now. So, I guess I'm glad it's being widened on one hand. On the other hand, I don't know where this is gonna lead us. So, good luck. Good luck.
The widening is just for a turn lane.
Just for
Not the whole-
turn lane.
Not the whole way.
Okay, turn lane at,
About
at
halfway
that
between, you know, where the subdivision
construction.
goes in. Yes.
Well, then I guess I'm going to say something needs done with that road from one end to the other. I'm not sure what, but I'm sure something, because the people are, in case you didn't hear me this first, second, and third time, flying down that road. So, and the stoplight is still something that needs to be really considered. So, there you go, do with it what you want.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sort of an Emily Latella moment.
Anybody else wish to speak? All right, Mr. Hicken, what do you got for me?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session, an executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G8 to consider confidential information related to specific business strategies, production techniques, and/or trade secrets of an applicant for economic development, or the information to be discussed involves potential public infrastructure improvements and/or the extension of utility services, both of which are directly related to the economic development project. Invited into that executive session is B.J. King, Nathan Cooey, and Brian Zetz. I'd also like to move in the same executive session pursuant to our Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3 for a conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Invited into the executive section is B.J. King and Brian Zetz.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll call, please.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hicken?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Walther?
Yep.
Powell?
Yes.
This will probably be pretty long, so good night, everybody.
Mayor,
Sorry?
the hour.
Okay, going into executive session at 8:32.
I wish I had the original copy. James, is Robert California on the office?
Okay, need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion and roll.
You ready for roll?
Yes. I'm ready to
Hayes?
roll.
Yes.
Hicken?
Yes.
Lee? Carter?
Yes.
Walther?
Yes?
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Okay, out of executive session at 9:13, and just for the record, Mr. Lee has gone back to work. Let's go roundy round and start with Suzanne.
Active Fit Triathlon is Saturday at Municipal Park. I want to thank Wes Licking for covering us with EMT in case we have any scrapes and bumps, and I won't call it the death hill, but whatever that hill is, you all call it, coming on Township. Had the honor of attending the wedding of Ed Giro this weekend, who built our gazebo. So pretty cool, and he actually built himself an arbor there that they got married under, so it was pretty cool. He heads off to be an Army helicopter pilot in a couple weeks, so, for training. That's all I have.
And interestingly, all the Giros were at the Memorial Day celebration.
Yeah.
All three, let's see,
Yeah.
all the three, and then Jeremy McIntyre with the cannon, and Zach, yeah, they were all there. It's kinda cool.
Very nice.
Mrs. Carter?
I just wanted to say I'm really excited to see 3 applicants for the Park Advisory Board. It's, really exciting, a little dismaying that we have 3 great ones right now, and that we haven't had them over a period of time so we could have them on the board all together. But for those who may not be selected for the position, I really hope that they come to the meetings and stay active as we can, it's certainly more than the board. We need community involvement to help spread the things that go on with the park board. And I'll be sending you my 2 cents about my opinion on who that pick should be.
Please do.
I will. Congratulate Mr. Hicken on his award, a well-deserved award. It's in a great deal of time and it's impressive. I'll be looking to set a development committee meeting very soon, BJ. I was kind of waiting for some input from the committee, to see, I know that tomorrow night we have the second comprehensive plan meeting. Wanted to see how that meeting went, to see if there's anything that they need from the committee, from the development committee or from council now that they're going into their second meeting. And so, I don't know, maybe holding pending tomorrow night. I do plan to attend. The first one was really fascinating and I listened to the recording. Mr. Hickens read it. It was very hard to hold my tongue. I think a few times I was moving in my seat, so, in lieu of speaking. So, I'll be reaching out to you in the committee so we can get that set, and Kathy, let me know all the details about that. And finally, I just wanna apologize for my absences in May. I appreciate the patience of my peers. My family has experienced an unusually difficult couple of months. And so my family commitments and my professional commitments to the graduating seniors of Licking Heights were large, and I'm sure the seniors appreciate my ridiculous amount of overtime getting them across the stage. They all wanted to be there. And so, and to kind of cap everything that's happened today, I sent my son off to the Army. So he is graduated and almost officially a member of the United States Army. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Barstow? Mr. Hicken?
I don't have anything new.
Mr. Zetz?
Nothing.
Mr. Walther?
I just wanted to let everybody know the pool opened last weekend. We were one of the, I think we're the only pool in the area that was open prior to Memorial Day weekend. It was unbelievable. I think we sold more food in one day than we planned on selling in the entire week. I know that for a fact because I had to go back to the store. It was great. We've got, want to thank the city, obviously, I'm talking from PRA's point of view, for the help that was given to get it cleaned out early, get it, that was imperative to getting the inspections done. The amount of kids and the amount of families down there is just fantastic. You heard one of our applicants talk about the pool and being down there. It was all I could do is tell them, come on back, bring your kid, because swim lessons started last night, or just tonight. So the first swim lessons were tonight, and we're booked for, I think, 3 or 4 of the sessions out of 5. So it's unbelievable.
Needed,
So, and it's,
honestly.
yeah,
Needed.
and we're looking forward to the Active Fit. Try need people down there cheering and keeping cars away from the kids, I guess. Best way I can put it. So that's all I have.
Mike? Just thanks to our applicants for the park board. It's nice to see some young blood. Like to see young people getting involved. And then I don't know if you mentioned it, but Friday night is that Light the Night Blue. It's a 1 mile walk starting at Veterans Green at 7:30 to show support for law enforcement. So I'll be on there and hope everyone else will be on there
And
too.
Tommy Lee's gonna stay open, and give us some goodies after we have our little fun run, so.
You said walk.
Fun run, fun walk.
I was like, I might be running.
Some people walk, some people run, some people jog.
I'll clap people as they run by.
Hey, I forgot to mention that the Story Walk was a big success, and it's beautiful. And so it was a partnership with the high school Watkins High School photography class, and the third graders wrote it. So this year it's different, since it's a partnership. The third graders wrote the paragraphs about their favorite places in this city, and the high schoolers took the paragraphs and then went out and found those places. Once again, Branham Signs did a fantastic job laying it out, installing it, and it's different. It's just really cool. So it was fun to see all the kids down there running around and, you know, just reading, walking, family. So pretty cool.
And in the immortal words of Mr. Lee.
Well, I'm gonna add one more
Oh, you
thing.
got something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wanna, I know I wasn't here for the last meeting with the old discussion of the mural and what's going on with that. But I wanna let everybody know, I've seen it, many, many times now, and it is fantastic.
Good.
It will be, it'll be fantastic. for the
When's the
city.
install? 'Cause we're
Well, we don't have, I asked and pleaded for a date so I could announce tonight. But, you'll be looking for an email from me here the next day or two. We're just looking to see when it can be done. Lori, had wanted to try to do that possibly with a July 4th type thing. I suggested that be its own event, quite frankly. It's that big of a deal, in my opinion. It'll be that fantastic, so.
I hooked him up with Kim George from the Post, so to make sure that there's coverage.
And I know they've already talked to the Dispatch, I believe, is doing an article tomorrow, so. And I will tell you that I've talked to a couple people that are involved at the Columbus Zoo that are interested in some things, maybe there might be some animals, that kind of stuff. So we'll see, I don't wanna raise anybody's
At the pool?
expectations, very cool.
At the
At the
pool.
pool.
Cool.
So we'll see.
Like
Crocodiles and gators and.
Well, the pictures, the stuff that they have on the
Oh.
mural, I would say 65 to 70% of that would be located at a zoo. You would see at a zoo.
Cool.
So.
Well, you know, at the library, when they had the animals, you know, we're gonna have to get bleachers, we're gonna have to do something. There was, that thing is off the charts. Everybody loves the zoo, and everybody loves animals, so anytime you bring animals to something, man, it's off the charts.
The only thing I can tell you is the zoo will probably want the mural. So we gotta keep them from taking it. I'm just kidding. But, oh yeah, I will, as soon as I know, I'll send out an
Okay.
email to BJ so that he can disperse
Okay.
properly. And, you know, it is pretty fantastic. The kids that are working on this, I'll give you just a 12-year-old kid doing a refugee, doing a picture of an owl, and it is, I was stunned by it. It was just amazing. So, yeah,
Cool.
leave it at that.
I move we adjourn.
A
Second.
motion, seconded by Mr. Walter. Discussion? Roll.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee, Carter, Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Haven't been here in a minute, folks. Put your chairs down.
In your absence, Mr. Barstow.
Oh, sweet Todd taking care of business. Thank you.
Taking care of business every day. Taking care of business every way.
Get that back.
You know that.
that guy.
Man.
See you later, Mayor.
I think Monday.
Lucky enough, you're healthy enough to spend that kind of time together. Here's my envelope for next month.
Hockey's probably the
Yeah,
hardest
they're
thing.
bleeding and then like, who go back on?
Right, exactly. Sometimes,
Yeah.
it's
Two
probably
people
the
have to
hardest
spend that kind of time together.
sometime when you're
I think
downtown.
about
Those
that.
little
all the time.
skates.
My dad gave me.
Cookie stick when people were
Just walk over, just stop at the office and
My dad.
coffee,
So
whatever.
bad, and just do anything, come to the car show still, and just go out and do stuff, and that's why he gave me 19 because it's a 3 on the tree, and he can't drive, because there's no power steering, and, I mean, all that, so.
Yeah.
And Dan, did I tell you Dan fell on the ice in March and tore his rotator cuff?
Yes.
He couldn't even drive the old car because
Oh.
he couldn't get it to turn. So he's been in physical therapy, but still looks like a pterodactyl when he drives.
Oh,
so.
my.
the calendar on the website.
Tell Louis I said hi.
Okay.
Take care.
He's on cloud 9.
I bet he is. Keep him busy this summer. Night.
Right.
I'm looking at the web's page
Yeah,
as
that's-
he's talking and I can't, like, there's just, because as we get huge and things continue to, you know what I mean? It's harder to keep,
I'll talk to
not a
Jason.
criticism at all, just
No, it's
an
a good,
observation, that way we
it's
can.
it's a good comment.
One, it's hard to keep myself, pretty organized, so.
Understood.
I
So you sent one off.
I did, it was very.
Hey, good night, Kathy.
Good night. He's probably by far my worst